Loneliness, temptation, emotions, and life difficulties. Many people believe marriage would help them in all this. The loneliness that they feel inside, if I could just find that person that I could be with, then I would no longer be lonely. I'm lonely. I'm tired of laying down by myself. I'm tired of coming home to myself. If I could just get married, I would no longer have this loneliness. Good morning, Jason. Sexual temptation. I struggle with looking at the screen all the time. If I could just get married, I would quit doing it. Pornography. Many people believe that upon getting married, they will no longer struggle with such sexual temptation, that they will be relieved of it. What about your deepest emotions? The things from your childhood, the things that you hold on to, those darkest secrets that nobody else knows about, that, hey, if I could just get married, then these things would no longer matter. I would have someone, I would stay busy that way, and then most of all, life difficulties. How hard life gets, that if I could just get married, I would have someone by my side. These are the issues. And these are the reasons that many people jump into marriage. Loneliness, temptation, your deepest secrets that are hidden, and difficulties. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Paul addresses these issues. He goes from talking about you guys forming cliques, talking about the sexual immorality that's inside the church, the lawsuits that are going on, and now he answers the question, hey, should we get married or shouldn't we get married? Now, to understand why Paul writes this, you have to understand that the church in Corinth was surrounded by pagan idols. And even in Corinth, they had a temple set up to where people would go in and worship with the temple prostitutes there. And that was their way of worshiping to these pagan idols. So therefore, the question arises about sex. Should we get married or should we stay away from it? Many Greeks are now turning to Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. But many Greeks are now holding their cultural baggage with them. Hey, sex is bad. And so therefore, it's better not to get married. And other people are saying, hey, sex is good because God intended it. What is the answer? Well, our natural desire, we have natural sexual desires in us. It's the way God created us. God said, be fruitful and multiply. But yet God has given us marriage, because marriage provides God's way for us to satisfy these desires. But because of the immorality around the culture, the Greeks just didn't want to believe this. It was better for them to say, hey, we're no longer going to give in to sexual relations, and let's just leave it as that. These Greeks are finding Christ, whether it's the wife, whether it's the husband, but they're no longer giving to their spouse what they should be giving. And therefore, Paul addresses this problem and says, hey, if you're married, then you need to pay your dues to your spouse. You don't stop it now. Therefore, many would say it's better for us to be single. It's better not to get married. It's better just to be single. Let's just keep it that way. And you guys who are married, you guys are stuck. Paul says, it is good to be single. And in fact, the person who is single should not seek to try to get married. Because the person who is single has more time to invest into God. He has more time to do a service for God. He has more time to give his very passions and desires to God. You see, because us married people, us who are in a relationship, our passions are at war. I try to figure out how to keep my wife happy. I try to figure out how to keep my kids. I try to figure out how to keep God. My passions are everywhere. But the single person, their mind could be devoted and holy unto God. The naive message about marriage, it would solve all your problems if you could get married. Your loneliness will be gone. Your sexual temptation will be gone. Your deepest emotions will be gone. And the difficulties of life will be gone. Well, you know what? This is all a lie. Because even when you get married, you can still feel lonely. When the honeymoon is over, the loneliness kicks in. The sexual temptation, you're still going to want to look at the screen. Your deepest emotions, you're still going to try to suppress it and hide it so that nobody knows. Life difficulties, they're bound to happen. Marriage alone does not hold two people together. Commitment does. And therefore, you could get married, but if there's no commitment, none of this is going to do. Commitment is to continue to invest into your spouse as if you first met her. My goal with my wife, I always try to date her. Whether it's to bring her flowers, whether it's to bring her a candy, whether it's just to leave a note, I always try to date her as when I first met her. That way she never feels lonely. Sexual temptation, if you can't overcome yourself and be in commitment, then you're never going to overcome the screen of looking at all the garbage out there. The emotions, if you can't go find help or counseling, you're never going to deal with those emotions that you went through or you're going through. And the difficulties, if you can't find consistency, then they're never going to be dealt with as well. Commitment is saying, hey, I'm going to sacrifice all this stuff that I'm holding and that I'm going through for you. Marriage don't solve all this. And as a reminder, Paul writes to the church, do not seek to be attached to anything in this world. And yet that also claims to be marriage. The secret for all this, do I get married? Do I don't get married? What do? I really want a wife. Well, Paul writes to the church of Philippians, or to the church of Philippi. And whatever situation I find myself, to be content. Be content with where you are today. Whether you're single, be content being single. If you're married, be content being married. But whatever situation you find yourself, remember, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. God bless you.